And now I would like to invite for the next presentation for the thick wall gallbladder on ultrasound. What to do for this? I would like to request our chairperson, Dr. Raghvendra Rao. He is done his MCH from SGPJ Lucknow, and presently working at a Banjara Hill in the hospital Department of Surgical Gastro and Liver Transplant since last 18 years. And I also invite the Dr. Shalu Gupta. Presently, she is a professor surgery working in SMS Medical College, and she is a president SI Rajasthan chapter. I would like to request our chairperson to invite our speaker for this talk.
Dr. Shalu, ma'am, can you please introduce the speaker? I think Dr. Raghu is not connected. His video is not.
Good afternoon, everyone. Our topic is thick gallbladder wall in ultrasonography, what to do. And our speaker is Dr. Saleen Agrawal. He is working in he is at present director of surgery at the Center for Liver and Biliary Sciences, Max Super Specialty Hospital, Saket, Delhi, and Max Hospital, Vaishali, Ghaziabad. His subspecialty is liver transplantation and hepatopancreatobiliary surgery. He completed his MCH from BHU Varanasi, and he has made numerous presentations at national and international meeting and has more than 2,000 publications in national and international journal to his credit. His area of interest is immunology, chronic liver disease, and hepatobiliary cancer. Now I invite sir, please come and deliver the lecture.
Before Dr. Shaleen begins, I would like Raghu to give a brief introduction. Raghu and Shaleen have been close friends, so I know them from a long time. So Raghu, please, I would like your points about Shaleen.
It's an honor to introduce Shaleen to the crowd. Yeah, and first of all, thank you very much, Professor Kapoor and Dr. Ajay for having me on this chairperson. And as Dr. Ajay was mentioning, Dr. Shaleen and we were together while doing the MCH at GPTI. And of course, both of us went on to do liver transplantation. Shaleen has done enormous work in HPP surgery and liver transplantation after completing his fellowship from New York. And then we were together in South Korea for some time. And having said that, I invite Dr. Shaleen to deliver the talk. He was the person who used to take care of all the GP data, gallbladder data when we were together in GPJ, and a lot of enormous experience and the direct stewardship of Dr. Professor Kapoor. He has done excellent work in thick wall gallbladder.
At the outset, I would like to thank Professor Kapoor, Dr. Sharma, my close friend, Dr. Ajay, Dr. Shashwat, Dr. Piyush for having me here in this first Jaipur Surgical Festival, and I look forward to being here each time that you hold this meeting. And I was looking forward to coming to Jaipur. And I would like to thank my chairpersons, Dr. Raghvendra Rao and Dr. Shalu, and as Dr. Ajay already said, Dr. Raghu and me have been very close, even so many years after completing my MCH. So with that, I would go to straight away to the topic that has been assigned to me today. And my brief is to talk about thick wall gallbladder on ultrasound, what to do. So Dr. Kapoor is a master at picking up these topics, and he always picks up very relevant problems, because almost all of us, even whether they're general surgeons or GI surgeons, whatever we are, but cholecystectomy in North India is the bread and butter, and thick wall gallbladder on ultrasound is like the problem that we see almost every other day. So it may seem very easy, and but when I was preparing my talk, even after so many years, I got so many points, new points that I learned from this while preparing this talk. So I hope it will be useful for the people who are present here and who have joined online. So starting from the basics, what is a thick wall gallbladder? A normal gallbladder thickness is up to 3 mm, 1 to 3 mm. So therefore, any gallbladder wall thickness which is more than 3 mm on imaging is described as a thick wall gallbladder. Classically, this was described in the late 70s and early 80s on the basis of ultrasound examination. So when we talk of, and since ultrasound is the primary investigation, screening investigation, so basically a thick wall gallbladder usually picked up on an ultrasound examination. And this is the point that was new to me, that ultrasound has an accuracy of more than 90% when looking at gallbladder wall thickness even of 1 mm, and when it becomes 1.5 mm, it's almost 100% accuracy. So it's a very accurate investigation. Any gallbladder which is thick walled on ultrasound done properly is a thick walled gallbladder. There are no controversies on that. And this is just a pictorial depiction. This is a normal gallbladder on the left of the screen, while on the right side there is obviously thick walled gallbladder between these two markers. Coming to the technical aspects that I just talked about, ultrasound for gallbladder should be done in a proper way. When I say proper manner, the patient should be fasting for at least 8 hours. He or she should be in the supine position. And then the gallbladder is visualized along its long axis. And wall thickness is measured in the area where the gallbladder lumen is at least 2 centimeter or more. This is a very important point, because a contracted gallbladder will fallaciously show a thick wall. Even a subcontracted gallbladder, that is, if the patient has had a meal within the last 2-3 hours, wouldn't be fully distended, and that can falsely give us an impression of thick wall gallbladder, because contraction can lead to a 3 or 4 centimeter thickness in the wall of a normal gallbladder also. So these are the 2 points which are important, that the patient should be fasting, and you should measure the thickness at the point where the lumen is at least 2 centimeter in diameter. So coming to the moot question, that why bother about thick walled gallbladder if you find it on ultrasound? Why is it important? So many years back, Dr. Kapoor asked me to look into this, and we made a small publication on that also. So I would just quote from that. So there are 2 reasons why we should talk about a thick walled gallbladder. One, gallbladder cancer may be present in a thick walled gallbladder, especially if you're a surgeon practicing in northern part of India, because we are living in an endemic zone for gallbladder cancer. Up to 1/3 of gallbladder cancers may present as thick walled gallbladders, many of them incidentally. And incidental finding of thick walled gallbladder may represent an underlying GBC, and the incidence is up to 5 to 10 times higher in thick walled gallbladders. So GBC is at almost 10 times higher in these kinds of gallbladders. And the second reason is thick walled gallbladder, as we all know, makes the life of surgeon very difficult. It may prompt a change from a laparoscopic to open cholecystectomy, and it may be an indication for conversion to open cholecystectomy. I would talk about this in a little more detail in the subsequent slides. So what are the causes or associations of a thick walled gallbladder? So basically it's been divided into 2 groups. One is the biliary, or the causes which arise from the gallbladder itself, and the other are the non-biliary disorders leading to picture of a thick wall gallbladder. So when we talk of gallbladder biliary disorders, we all know it's acute cholecystitis followed by chronic cholecystitis, and the variants of chronic cholecystitis such as a Medici syndrome, xanthogranulomatous cholecystitis, and gallbladder cancer, obviously. When you talk of non-biliary disorders, then we can have a thick walled gallbladder finding on ultrasound in cases of acute viral hepatitis. Patients with cirrhosis often have a thick walled gallbladder, and it's even reported in the ultrasound for reports that I often see that the gallbladder is thick walled. And these are all because of the portal hypertension. Ascites can lead to appearance, I won't say falsely, it's actually a thick walled gallbladder. Basically, it's all because of hypoalbuminemia. Similarly, in congestive heart failure, and then in acute pancreatitis, even in peptic ulcer disease, we don't see that so often these days because of the wide use of PPIs, but this is more of historical interest, that patients of peptic ulcer disease can also have a thick wall, incidental finding of thick wall gallbladder on ultrasound examination. So these are the non-biliary causes. I would rather call them associations of a thick wall gallbladder on ultrasound. Now, when we go on to manage a patient who's been found to have a thick wall gallbladder on ultrasound, we need to discuss in detail what is the pattern of thickening. All kinds of thickenings are not the same, and they carry different connotations depending on what is the appearance. So when it is a uniform diffuse thickening, it could be a case of acute cholecystitis, it could be a case of chronic cholecystitis. When, on the other hand, if it's an irregular thickening, or you are having an appearance of localized mass or focal thickening, then think in terms of, it could be, it is not always that it's a gallbladder cancer, but as I said, it could be up to 30% cases, it could be an underlying malignancy that you have picked up, or it could be a case of xanthogranulomatous cholecystitis, which is the great mimic of gallbladder cancer. You may have polypoidal outpouchings, which could be again polyps, which could be again neoplastic or non-neoplastic, such as cholesterol polyps. You could have ulceration of the gallbladder wall, which is common in cases of benign disease also, but it could be a indicator, a soft indicator of gallbladder cancer. When you have fluid layer between two layers of thickened gallbladder wall, what we call the double layer sign, this is very characteristic of non-bilious conditions that I talked about in the previous slide. And when you have thickening along with pericholecystic fluid around the gallbladder, then it's very classical for acute cholecystitis. And thickening with wall discontinuity has been reported in patients with GB perforation. And all this can be seen on ultrasound. A good ultrasound can pick up all these findings. So this is another pictorial depiction. So this is the double layer sign. You have one layer and the other layer, and between that there is a layer of fluid. So this is commonly seen in patients of cirrhosis, hypoalbuminemia, portal hypertension, chronic heart failure, and renal failure. On the other hand, if you have a mass like focal thickening or mass, then you should be more cautious and think in terms of more sinister diagnosis. So what is the relevance of gallbladder thickening of ultrasound? If you are just talking of a stand-alone finding of uniformly thick-walled gallbladder, it's a very non-specific finding. You cannot put a diagnosis to it, just that you have found a uniformly thick-walled gallbladder. You cannot say whether what would be the ultimate diagnosis. And classically, it's been described in chronic cholecystitis and acute cholecystitis, but 40% of cases of acute cholecystitis may not present with thick-walled gallbladder. So it is a very non-specific finding. However, if you have the appropriate clinical background in mind, it assumes great significance, and that is what I will discuss in the subsequent slides. So when we look at the clinical background, I have divided into three categories. One is the acute presentation that we have all seen in our practice: acute onset pain, upper abdomen with nausea, vomiting with or without fever. Ultrasound, emergency ultrasound shows a uniformly thick-walled gallbladder with or without calculi. So the diagnosis is easy. It's acute cholecystitis in most of the cases. And if you have an associated wall edema and pericholecystic diagnosis, it further makes your diagnosis more solid. You can be more confident about making the diagnosis. There's an entity which is often discussed called acute calculus cholecystitis, but this is an uncommon condition outside the ICU setting. It's been shown in studies that 50% of the patients who in emergency department ultrasound were labeled as acute cholecystitis, acalculous cholecystitis, were found to have gallstones on subsequent ultrasound examinations. So acute cholecystitis is more often found in patients who have been chronically ill or who have been in ICU for long periods, who have been on TPN. So those are the situations where you should make this diagnosis. Otherwise, it is usually a calculous cholecystitis. The management, as Dr. Iyer had discussed nicely in the previous talk, either you proceed with medical management. This will all depend on the patient's condition as well as the expertise available, whether you are confident enough to do a difficult cholecystectomy in a patient of acute cholecystitis. So depending on the patient's condition and the expertise available, you proceed with medical management or go ahead with cholecystectomy, which can again be an open or a laparoscopic cholecystectomy. Coming to the next clinical scenario is when GB thickening is found as an association of an underlying acute or chronic condition. In most cases, the patient has hypoalbuminemia, and patient will ultrasound will show gallbladder thickening as an incidental finding. And if you have the double layer sign, which is very, I won't say it's very 100% specific, but quite specific for these situations. And the situations I would just enumerate again, that is portal hypertension, cirrhosis, chronic renal failure, congestive heart failure. Basically, it's the transudative ascites, although this term has gone out of vogue these days, but it's a low protein ascites in which you have this kind of gallbladder finding on ultrasound. And back in the 80s and the 90s, there were many studies which tried to differentiate malignant from non-malignant ascites on the basis of gallbladder wall thickening. And it was seen that in many studies went up to the extent of saying that if you have a thick walled gallbladder, then it's not malignant ascites. But then later subsequent studies refuted that, and now it's basically a non-specific finding. But still, a non-malignant ascites is more likely to have a thick wall gallbladder. Coming to what to do next, no further evaluation is recommended for the thick wall gallbladder per se. If it's a symptomatic gallbladder disease, then you have to manage accordingly. But just for the finding of thick wall gallbladder, you don't need to go for further evaluation. You manage the primary disease. Coming to the most common scenario, when thick wall gallbladder is found is GB thickening either in an asymptomatic patient who's undergoing an ultrasound for some other ailment, or a patient who we know is giving a history of recurrent biliary colics and is most likely to have chronic cholecystitis. So these are the two situations where we may encounter gallbladder wall thickening, and we have to keep in mind basically the 2 points that I raised in the previous slide, whether it is an underlying gallbladder cancer that we have to rule out, and how would we plan our surgery if we are going ahead with surgery. So these are the only 2 points and the 2 goals rather of further evaluation. So red flags for gallbladder cancer, again, I think everybody knows that. Elderly female patient, ultrasound shows that the wall thickening is irregular. There is a focal mass. A solitary large stone, classically 3 centimeter or more, is said to be more often associated with gallbladder cancer. Patients of PSC, again, thick wall gallbladder in them is again should not be left off lightly and should be investigated thoroughly for underlying gallbladder cancer. So what further investigation? Again, it's easy cross-sectional imaging, and that is what the next slide talks about. It could be a CT or an MRI. We prefer MRI because contrast MRI shows the morphology of the liver and gallbladder much better than a CT, although this can be debated, but we tend to go for MRIs these days. But CT is, I think, good enough. If you have an evidence of suspicious area in the form of a mass or focal thickening, then transabdominal ultrasound guided FNAC should be done to prove whether it's, that is, we need a tissue diagnosis, whether it's a cancer or not. If you don't have a mass on CT or MRI, but the clinical suspicion is high, then there are recent studies which talk of endoscopic ultrasound having a very good yield to the tune of more than 90% sensitivity and almost 100% specificity for picking up gallbladder cancer. But EUS may not be available at all centers. So an easier option may be go for straight away for cholecystectomy. If you have a facility for intraop ultrasound, that is very good. But if you don't go ahead with cholecystectomy, do a frozen section and then decide accordingly. However, if you have a tissue diagnosis beforehand, and it's malignant, then you will go for a extended or a radical cholecystectomy. And if you are detecting gallbladder cancer intraoperatively, then you will, what we call as a completion extended cholecystectomy, can be done in the same sitting. So the bottom line or the message that I want to give from this slide is that thick walled gallbladder, even an asymptomatic patient, should not be left behind. It has to come out. So this is the basic message that I want to give from this slide. A little bit about xanthogranulomatous cholecystitis versus gallbladder cancer, because as I said that it is a great, xanthogranulomatous cholecystitis is a great mimic of gallbladder cancer. And at the same time, 10% cases of this condition, which is actually a form of chronic cholecystitis, may have foci of gallbladder cancer. So again, there's a close association between these two conditions, and there have been studies done which show that you can differentiate, at least get some idea of differentiating between gallbladder cancer versus xanthogranulomatous cholecystitis or cholegranulomatous cholecystitis. That's the other name for that condition. So XGC patients are more likely to have a smooth interface, that is a smooth wall, though it is thickened, but it is smooth, no breaks, no masses protruding into the lumen, although this is not 100% specific. If you have associated hyperechoic foci and hypoechoic nodules within the wall, then it's more suggestive of xanthogranulomatous cholecystitis. But a small incidental focus of gallbladder cancer cannot still be ruled out. The accuracy that has been reported in literature varies from 75 to 90% for these signs that I've just talked about. And this is again a pictorial depiction of the two ultrasound pictures of xanthogranulomatous cholecystitis versus gallbladder cancer. And as you can see, there are some thick walled, but it's more uniform and smooth. There are some hyperechoic foci, which are absent in this picture, which turned out to be a gallbladder cancer. So another slide about what has been described by the Sanjay Gandhi group is what we call the anticipatory extended cholecystectomy or the Lucknow approach. So the indications, I put up this slide because this is a very good indication in patients with thick walled gallbladder, where you have a clinical suspicion of gallbladder cancer lingering on despite the cross-sectional imaging being not suggesting gallbladder cancer, and even if the FNAC being negative. What this involves is a removal of 2 centimeter wedge of liver along with a thick walled gallbladder. That is basically you're not breaching the cholecystohepatic plane. You don't do any lymphadenectomy that you do in an extended cholecystectomy. You send the GB for frozen section, and if it turns out to be positive for malignancy, you go ahead and complete the lymphadenectomy, and that makes it a complete extended cholecystectomy. It can be done open or laparoscopically. There are many reports of laparoscopic extended cholecystectomy, including GV Pant from Delhi. What are the advantages of this approach is that it preserves the sacrosanct cholecystohepatic plane. That is, despite doing a simple cholecystectomy, that is with a 2 centimeter wedge, you have not ruined the patient's chances of getting a cure from an early gallbladder cancer. And it's a kind of triage procedure. And removing a 2 centimeter wedge of liver does not add to the morbidity of the procedure. Advances in the hepatobiliary surgery now, this procedure can be done even in the smallest of centers with minimal facilities. You may do it open. You can do it laparoscopy depending with what you are comfortable with. But this is a good procedure when you are faced with such a situation of a patient with thick wall gallbladder, where the clinical suspicion of gallbladder cancer is not high, but it's not zero either. Now, coming to that part, laparoscopic cholecystectomy in thick wall gallbladder. All of us have faced this situation. And whatever anybody may say, my experience is that it's never an easy procedure. It's a technical challenge because besides the thick wall, it's not the thick wall alone. Very often because of the chronic inflammation, the calyx is frozen and it's just, you cannot visualize the structures. So it's very prone for injuries just because you cannot see any of the cystic duct or the cystic artery or any aberrations of the biliary anatomy or the vascular anatomy, which may be hidden under this shroud of fibrous tissue. And there are studies to that effect, many studies I would say, but I picked only the two which I found were very useful. One, there's a study on the left hand side that I've quoted from United States, where they looked at the correlated thickness of the gallbladder wall to the difficulty of cholecystectomy. And actually, as they divided the thick wall gallbladders on the basis of thickness into mild, moderate, and severe thickness. Severe means 6 to 7 mm, and they found that actually the difficulty of laparoscopic cholecystectomy, the conversion rates and the complication rates multiplied as the severity of thickness increased, and to the extent that in severe thickness, that is 6 to 7 mm thick wall gallbladders, the conversion rates were to the tune of 17% in experienced hands. So thick wall gallbladders, cholecystectomy, you should go with the mindset that you will have difficulty and you should go prepared for that, and you should not be in a hurry to remove these gallbladders. Otherwise, you'll land up in great trouble. And there's another study, this was published in 2016 from UK, and they looked at patients and they looked at the risk factors for conversion. So they came after multivariate analysis, 6 factors. So among those 6 factors, besides the age, gender, the ASA grade, the CBD diameter, a very important factor was again a thick wall gallbladder. So thick wall gallbladders, you should anticipate difficulty while doing when you are preparing such a patient for a cholecystectomy, and you should have enough time and enough patient for handling these patients. And therefore, I'm not trying to discourage people, but laparoscopic cholecystectomy is very doable in thick wall gallbladders, and this is our own. I'm a Sanjay Gandhi product, so I'm saying it's our own publication. Way back in 2004, it was published, and we look at 60 patients of thick wall gallbladder, and where laparoscopic cholecystectomy was attempted in 46, out of which it was successful in 87%. That was a fairly good figure. And 2 patients, that is 2.3% patients, turned out to have an incidental gallbladder cancer. So what I'm all trying to say is that thick wall gallbladders, go ahead, freely do a cholecystectomy, a laparoscopic cholecystectomy, but be prepared for difficulties. So
Shaleen, I think you need to conclude,
yes,
because we'll have a lot of discussion.
So this is my last slide, and I conclude with this algorithm for thick wall gallbladders. Again, if you have features, ultrasound and clinical features of acute cholecystitis, it's easy, go for medical management or cholecystectomy. If it's presenting an association of hyperlipidemia, don't concentrate on the gallbladder, concentrate on the primary disease. If it's an asymptomatic patient or a chronic cholecystitis patient, go for cross-sectional imaging. It's very easy to get a CT or MRI these days. Don't look for cost. It's very rewarding. If you have a mass, go for a USG guided FNAC, positive. It's easy, go for radical cholecystectomy. And if you don't have a mass or FNAC is negative, then go for an US guided FNAC if the facility is available, or just go for a cholecystectomy and prepared for frozen section or anticipatory extended cholecystectomy that we discussed. If the frozen is positive, do a radical cholecystectomy or a completion cholecystectomy. If it's negative, then just you're done. It's the end of treatment. The patient is cured. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you, Dr. Shaleen. It was a wonderful, very elusive coverage of entire lucid coverage of entire spectrum of what to do if you find a thick-walled gallbladder on ultrasound. And it's a very common problem. I have two questions and a suggestion for which I need your comment. One is, do you favor FNAC, preoperative FNAC or biopsy in a focal thickening of the gallbladder? Do you concur with it? Second thing is, if you need a cross-sectional imaging, if you are prepared for cross-sectional imaging, would you prefer a CT or a MRI with MRCP in such thick-walled gallbladders? These are the two questions.
Yeah.
And the comment is, personally, I would prefer conversion to anticipated extended cholecystectomy in a very thick-walled, severely thick-walled gallbladder with a difficult callus. That is one of the important suggestions which I would make in the forum. So I need your comments on that.
So coming to the two questions, Dr. Raghavendra, one is we prefer MRI these days because the morphology, as I discussed, was better seen, appreciated on a good MRI. And to the extent that it can make a fairly good diagnosis whether this patient is going to have a gallbladder cancer, and you can even avoid an FNAC, but it's always better to have a tissue diagnosis. So I would prefer to do an FNAC, although that controversy of tumor seeding and all is still there. But then you go prepared for a straight away for an extended cholecystectomy. One may still say that extended cholecystectomy is no big deal, and you can, but getting a negative report these days, no cancer, you have to, like, there are many medical legal issues also involved. So tissue diagnosis, if you can get, it's always useful. And to the second question, I prefer MRI over CT, but if somebody chooses CT, it's equally good. I couldn't get the comment. What Dr. Raghavan's comment was? He made a comment and he wanted something.
Can I repeat that?
Yeah.
Yeah. In case when I find a thick-walled gallbladder with a difficult callus, I would straight away go for an anticipated extended cholecystectomy rather than proceeding with laparoscopic cholecystectomy.
Yeah, that is totally valid. I totally agree with you that you may not go for laparoscopic cholecystectomy, but still, and what was mentioned in our paper for anticipatory cholecystectomy was that there is a suspicion, lingering suspicion of GBC. So you have GBC in mind. That's why if you are you are suspecting GBC, go for AEC, that is a anticipatory extended cholecystectomy, and don't go for laparoscopic. But yes, people are doing laparoscopic extended cholecystectomies also these days. So if somebody is deft at doing that, what's the harm in doing anticipatory extended cholecystectomy laparoscopically? That is all. That was the point I was trying to make.
In the meantime, I'll request Dr. Sanjay Nagral to please unmute yourself. He wants to ask one question. Dr. Sanjay Nagral, yes, you may unmute.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes,
can hear
Dr.
you.
Sanjay.
Okay, hi Shaleen. So this idea of anticipatory cholecystectomy in a low risk situation of a thickened gallbladder where the risk of CAGB is there but low, why take a 2-centimeter wedge when you can perhaps take a 5-millimeter wedge, do a frozen, and if the frozen is positive, you do a formal either 2-centimeter or segment 4B5, because a 2-centimeter wedge can potentially injure the right pedicle if somebody loses their way. Any comments on this?
Yeah. So, Dr. Sanjay, I think it's more of a matter of philosophy. What I would say is that if you're taking a 5 mm and then it turns out to be positive, then you have to repeat the entire procedure, that is the liver resection part again, in a field which has already been kind of interfered with. So it would be a repetition of the thing, make the thing a little more difficult. And as we have all experienced in doing extended cholecystectomies, that as we go towards the hilum, our margin invariably becomes smaller. You cannot have a big margin there. It automatically becomes smaller to the tune of, at max, I would say, 2 centimeter. And since a wedge of 2 centimeter has classically been described as a part of an extended cholecystectomy, that's why that figure of 2 centimeter has come into vogue. So these are the two reasons for going for a 2 centimeter margin rather than just 5 mm. And then if it turns out to be positive, repeating the whole exercise again to get a 4B5 or a 2 centimeter, whatever is the center's philosophy.
I have a question from Dr. Sadiq.
Yes, sir.
Is Dr. Sadiq, can you hear me? Can you unmute yourself? Yeah, Dr. Sadiq, sir.
Yeah, hi Charlene.
Sir, good afternoon, sir.
See, you showed that paper, and that is what is most of the time evident that the risk of gallbladder cancer is at best about 3% or less. So, is it not an overkill to do AEC in all thick walled gallbladders? Should we be more choosy in which to do a AEC?
Yes, sir. So I mentioned that where despite your imaging, you still have a lingering suspicion in terms of the clinical presentation, like an elderly patient, you have a large stone along with a thick wall gallbladder. I'm not recommending that procedure for all thick wall gallbladders, sir, because I talked about laparoscopic cholecystectomy in detail for thick wall gallbladders. So only in a subset of patients where despite having a CT showing a thickened gallbladder, but no mass, but still you have this elderly male patient and you have a large stone, solitary stone. Similar such kinds of patients, you may go ahead and do a anticipatory extended cholecystectomy. That's why I put that slide subsequently and not in the main. It was after the main part.
No,
That is one of the options.
I
It's
know
an
you
option.
mentioned that. This was in contrast to what Raghu was suggesting, that I would do a AEC in all thick walled GB. So
No.
I don't know, that may be an overkill.
I think Raghu wants to make a clarification.
Like my suggestion was in severely thick walled gallbladder with a typical Callout triangle, where that's a common scenario of what we see, where it's a frozen Callout with a thick walled, very severe thick walled gallbladder, like more than 6 mm. Those are the selective cases. I would prefer to go for a AEC.
My take is on that is that it's not to be like for over the board for all cases. It's for thick wall gallbladders where despite your adequate investigations, you are still having that doubt that it may be a gallbladder cancer, and you are expert enough to remove remove a 2 centimeter width without increased morbidity. If you can't safely do it, please don't do it.
Dr. Shalin, I have a query. Dr. Shrikant, you can mute yourself. Dr. Shrikant wants to ask one question. In the meantime, we can have Dr.
How much would you rely on CA 19.9 and PET CT in such situations?
Well, there have been CA 19.9. Well, it is just an adjunct. I don't rely on that too much. That wouldn't be helpful in clinching the diagnosis. It would be just an additive information. So if a patient with thick wall gallbladders, he has the red flag signs, and in addition, I have a raised CA 19.9, which is, I don't know what should be the cutoff that we put it, but if it's a significantly raised, like in hundreds, then it may have some value, but I won't depend on it. And what was the second question, sir?
PET CT.
PET CT, yes, PET CT, there have
Before you go on to a FNAC, where you may, as you said, vitiate the planes, would you like to
so
do
PET CT has been done, and there are studies which show that if a PET CT, they have even put a SUV cutoff of around 8, I think, if I remember correctly, 8 or 8.5, that if it is higher, then there is a very high chance, almost, they said 95 or 96% specificity for it being a gallbladder cancer. Well, but again, you're still...
See, because going in for a FNAC where you are vitiating
Yes,
I think
but I
PET
think that
CT
is an
in a
overstated risk for the seeding part, and tissue diagnosis is usually considered to be that if you can have a pre-op tissue diagnosis, it's good because you can plan the procedure. But if you want to, as we said, that in that case, you go and do an anticipatory extended cholecystectomy if your PET is lighting up, and get a frozen, and if you are positive, then go for completion lymphadenectomy. So I think that is a viable option.
Okay, we'll just have a last question from Dr. Shrikant. If you want, Dr. Shrikant, you want to ask something?
It's not a question, it's just a comment that Professor Kapoor always insists, don't use these words radical and extended cholecystectomy interchangeably. So it is extended cholecystectomy, okay. That's one. And second is that basically this question about anticipatory extended, I think, I mean, you have mentioned all the things. It would help at least the postgraduates if you enumerate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, basically. Like you said, 3 centimeter stone, if you have this. So I think that's what would tell us, I mean, it will give an idea that it's just a subset.
Yeah, it is a subset, and I would, for the postgraduates, for the benefit of the postgraduates, I would repeat again, I'm not recommending, and even the paper doesn't recommend anticipatory extended cholecystectomy for all thick wall gallbladders. Please don't go with that impression. It is for a subset of patients where you have done your imaging And CT, it's not, again, it's just a uniformly thick wall gallbladder, but it's an elderly patient, female patient coming from North India, Bihar, UP, where you have a solitary large stone, or the CT may have shown, the MRI especially may have shown some irregularity of the GB mucosa, but it's not very clear. These are a small subset of patients where this procedure is really helpful. There has to be a lingering underlying suspicion of GBC before you go ahead for AEC.
I think we are running out of time. Very good presentation, Dr. Shalin. I think this discussion can go on for a whole day. I understand that, and it has been going on for years between all of us. So I think we can start with the next session, please.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dr. Shalin.